Hello, everybody, and welcome to the It's Okay to Cry Entertainment Podcast, your one-stop shop for game design, game development, and much more.
So what are you drinking? If you were to
Yeah.
describe it in feelings, how would you describe it?
Yeah, it hurts a little bit, but in like a good way. No, it's like
Right.
it's
That's
like
my sex
this.
life that you're describing there.
Yeah, it's like a homemade ginger beer, except it wasn't
Oh.
actually homemade by me, but it's like homemade ginger
Yeah,
beer.
like the feel,
It's
you know.
pretty good.
Oh,
4 out of 5 pickles.
Right.
Nice.
I'm Newman. I'm drinking Captain Morgan. As you can see, I've made a bit of a dent in the bottle, but you shouldn't notice that during the podcast. I rate it 7 out of 10. I've had better, but I'll drink it again, and I'll keep drinking it during the podcast. So
I'm Artur, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm drinking red wine. I have no clue how to say the name. I think it's Negro Amaro. That's how you pronounce it. It's very
Sounds
nice.
very
8 out of
fancy.
10 alpacas. It's
Yeah.
very, very good.
Oh, well, I'm Daan. I'm also drinking wine. White wine, though, and from the most heretic glass you have ever seen. Yes, that's right. I've just moved. I don't have any glasses in here other than this and the glass of previous podcast with the lion sticking out. And I thought, why not have like a whole garden? I'm not sure if you can read it.
oh, garden.
We have all those in this garden.
Yeah, exactly. But the wine is, Gato Negro, also something with Negro, just like Artur. And
Yeah,
I'm
because we hate monetization, you know.
yeah, just throw it out a window. We only have 30
I had
views
time to
anyway.
get cancelled.
But like, yeah, I rate it. I'd say 8 out of 10 pickles.
Nice.
Very nice.
It's fair. It's nice.
I had an experience to share. So, there was research that showed that looking at being in nature, calms down the mind. Like
Mhm.
helps you almost have the same effect as like sleeping. That it orders your memories and it calms you down. It de-stresses. And they saw that looking at pictures of nature can have the same effect. So you don't actually have to be in nature.
Huh.
And now I've been playing.
It's so easier.
I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing with my mom.
Okay.
And so, a shout out to my mother. She made you can buy like clothes in Animal Crossing, and we had these socks with the little Tom Nook ink icon on it, and she was like, "I can make those." So now I have my own handmade Animal Crossing sock merch.
Okay, that's pretty
So
cool.
that's awesome.
Nice.
Oh my god.
You
Yeah,
make us all jealous.
So, after playing a lot of Animal Crossing, you get really relaxed, like the same feeling you get of like being in a park. So I was wondering, can you get the same resting experience from, because you can get that de-stressing from looking at pictures of nature. Can you also get it from looking at simulated pictures of nature?
Right.
And I just wanted to know, did anyone else experience stuff like that? Like feeling
Yeah.
rested after being in a virtual nature environment?
I remember very vividly when I think it was about a month into the quarantine, and we started playing Minecraft with a group of friends on a server. And there was literally something, and it's so stupid, but there was something about just being in a Minecraft blocky forest that had somewhat of that same effect of being like outside.
Yeah, but the question is that from the fact that it's a forest in Minecraft, or is it from the fact that it's a game which releases endorphins, you know? It's...
No, but I mean, I think there's something specific about like just walking and running through that forest and like the hills and climbing a mountain in Minecraft,
Yeah.
as opposed to like
It's also like
it's
just because
different than when I find
it's
diamonds, right? Which makes me feel very happy and it definitely releases endorphins.
Yeah,
but
of course.
it's a different
It's-
feeling.
It's not
It
relaxing.
might also just
Yeah.
be nostalgia because it's so long you've played this game and it's like, oh yeah, 8 years ago I was also walking through a forest just
Yeah, but-
like this. It was also
Definitely,
looking.
yeah. But then again, isn't the relaxation that you get from nature also a kind of nostalgia, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
It's
Yeah.
this well, at least for me when I'm in nature I get this feeling of being at home, you know? Like
Mhm.
just that's the relaxation I feel like alright, this is a place that makes sense and is right, you know? So I guess that would indeed confirm the nostalgia aspect you mentioned.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. I think there is there was a VR game at some point, or I mean, there's obviously a lot of them, but
There are many.
there's a specific VR game about like which I think was like a meditative experience of like walking
Possibly.
through a simulated forest that
Could
was
very
also
possibly
used,
be.
I think, to cure anxiety issues.
That's pretty
Cool.
cool.
So I think
Yeah, I
that's
didn't know about
definitely like,
Highly probable.
yeah, I think there's something to that. But I'm very interested as to what key points make you feel like you're in nature.
Yeah, because like I understand if you are in VR and you have like a really realistic high-end graphics forest around you,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to think that okay, that's gonna have the same. If a photo does that, then like almost photorealistic graphics will also have the same effect. That's
Yeah,
okay. But
sure.
if you look like you said, Minecraft or Animal Crossing, that is very stylized, very fake, cartoony or blocky nature. But can that still have the same effect? That would be interesting to find out.
Well,
Yeah.
what I think, is that just like with films or movies, depending on what part of the world you're from, like feeling a certain feeling is almost more because of the sound than of the image. Like movies are often said to be 70% sound, and like, don't you ever like you have YouTube videos of just like
Ambient
sound
music
of
and stuff.
nature,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
that alone calms you down.
Mhm.
So
fair enough.
I
Yeah.
think it might not have to do as much as you might think with graphics.
That's really
Yeah.
cool. But then again, Arthur
Definitely.
started out saying that you get the same thing when you look at pictures of nature, right?
Yeah,
Which means I think
guess it has the same
there
effect.
is something to that. I definitely agree with you. I think the
Yeah.
sound's a big part of that. But thinking back on my
Best
Minecraft
sound
experience,
is listening to rain when you want to sleep.
yeah,
Oh,
No.
hell yes.
On
Like
on the
when
roof.
Yeah, on the roof or your window, and like thinking,
Brilliant.
I'm inside, suck at nature. And yeah,
Or when there's like a hard wind blowing, just like whooshing around your house, across your window, and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm inside.
I used to
I'm
get
under the blankets.
I used to be comfortable around it, but now like I've got a balcony with furniture on it, and I keep thinking, what if it blows away?
yeah.
Yeah, I feel that.
The worries
Although
of
I have
growing
to
up.
say, one of my most comfortable moments was when I was in Croatia with my girlfriend, and this tropical storm hit. Well, tropical storm. It was heavy rain and thunder and everything. And
like
quite
heavy
windy.
weather for Europe.
Heavy weather for Europe, yeah. And I remember just like walking home with her and these heavy raindrops, like just thick, like actually thick.
Thick boys,
Like they hit you and they don't hit you hard, but they just hit you and they like kind of roll.
hit you right in the feels.
And it just like you don't even mind the fact that you're getting rained on. You're just walking and yeah, it's kind of shitty, but it's still like 30 degrees outside Celsius because we're normal human beings. I know
By
it's
the
just
way, anyone who is American, please love us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, but I am very curious about that. Like, is it the environment? Like, is it the image, the actual like? Because I mean, the fact that the picture generates that feeling to me suggests that there's something about the aesthetic.
Yeah.
But also, I think you hit on something that I can really relate to. Is like it's this certain like feeling of just like being and like accepting the outside for what it is, and just like completely embracing that, which I get when I'm outside, and that relaxes me. And I think that's the same as when you're in the rain, indeed. And I mean that it connects to me on a deep level, anyway. And I think that might be what connects it to, for example, Minecraft. That like I would just. Like, you just come to embrace the world that you're in, sort of. In a sort of like... When I'm in my room and there's something I like or don't like, I'm like, I want to change it. Or like, I feel responsible for it. But when you're outside, you can sort of like just see the world for like, okay, this is the way it is. I'll just, make the best of it. But like in a really positive way.
Yeah.
I think there might be something to that.
One of the things I personally love most about, like... Well, not living exactly, that makes it like really deep, but like I really enjoy when I'm cycling a lot. I cycle to university, I cycle to every place, and usually when I'm not in a hurry, I really enjoy just not biking fast, not biking like I need to go somewhere, but just appreciating my environment. Like, I know I live smack dab in the middle of Amsterdam, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's so nice. There's trees by the road, and sometimes there's children playing, or there's like something next to the road or something, and it's like, oh yeah,
Something next to the road, like a piece of dog shit and stuff.
yeah, shit, cheap as Togo and
Roadkill and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I really get that.
Yeah.
Like for me, one of the things I really struggle with this quarantine and staying at home is the fact that I don't get to travel or cycle or ride my moped home, which is for me there was a really clear separation between doing stuff and being home, which is in part to do with nature, I guess, with where you get to disconnect from life for a bit, and you get to go to a different scene, if you will, just
Definitely.
like you get to move to the next part. And that's one of the things where during this quarantine I find myself being at home and not really having that line between work and relaxation. That's really difficult for me. So I find myself just going on rides to try to clear my mind.
Yeah. That's really nice.
Which is something I used to do for a while.
Yeah. That's so nice. It makes me really think of somebody I talked to who would, during the quarantine, he would, for every meeting and everything he would do, he would switch the place he was working in. So like he'd be working in this thing, and he'd actually take
really
travel time for that, the same way you normally would when like we're going, okay, after university I'm going to work on this, but I have to cycle home. He would literally just take 5 to 10 minutes, move his entire setup to the living room, and just through that mundane, like, movement of stuff, create this sort of, travel time, which has for him the same effect. And it makes me really curious if we can get this sort of nature or context switching, I think, effect in like an app or something. There's like something, if you can like condense that down into like a 3-minute thing that you can just like pull up on your phone, maybe.
Yeah.
But like that's I really am gonna do it because I find myself completely lacking like the sense of when is my free time and when is my time to do stuff. And so I do stuff and then I hit like a dead end, which normally means like, oh, I have to think about it for 5 minutes and then I'm good to go again.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm just like, oh well, my Nintendo Switch is like here, like in our reach.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, let's go play some games then.
Which games do you got on the Switch now, by the way? Because I'm curious.
I've only got the Assassin's Creed Legacy Edition, so that's Black Flag and Rogue, but I've only played Black Flag so far.
Oh, that's cool. I still have Black Flag from a sale. How is it?
Oh, it's fucking amazing. It's I think personally, don't attack me for this, but I know there's a lot of people thinking the same as well, but it's the best Assassin's Creed out there.
Okay.
It's really, really good. It's like it has all the Assassin's Creed elements with 3 different towns, with all like the separate missions and side missions, but it's such a huge world. You can sail between them, you can attack ships, you can like explore abandoned islands, and especially the storyline is so good. Like the storyline really reminded me of Breaking Bad, actually.
Huh.
Oh.
Not because like Edward isn't exactly a drug dealer or anything, but like the endings are really similar. I'm not gonna spoil anything for anyone who hasn't watched, but like
I haven't seen through either, so I'm very curious now.
It's a definite recommend. I've just about finished the game by now. I've like done everything apart from some buried chests, which I can't seem to find, even though I've done everything else. So
okay, you've completed the game.
Yeah, I've like completed it for 97% or something.
Oh, I thought it was open world.
It is, but it has like quests, side quests. It has collectibles, and it has the main quest, and it has some legendary ships you need to like. It's so big.
That's
really
so cool, because I think this was one of the first games that did open world, right? Like properly open world.
2014, I think. It's after GTA 5. I'm fairly certain.
Oh yeah.
So
okay.
No.
Fair enough,
it's
but it's
not
like one of the
inspirational.
first that had apparently such a concise story. Because I'm usually don't hear like one of the first things you mentioned. What the story was so great, which is something I don't
Yeah.
generally hear from open world games.
No, really, the story is amazing. It is like all the build up. You meet a lot of characters, and you really feel for them.
I'm
Which
interesting.
everything that happens to them, you like take on a personal level, and it's amazing. I mean, that's as long as you don't skip the cutscenes, which I used to do when I first played it on the Xbox 360.
Yeah.
Oh wait, actually, Xbox 360. So that's got to be before 2013.
2013, October of 2013.
Okay.
Okay, so about the same as
Yeah.
GTA 5.
And November of 2014 on console for GTA 5. So it was a bit earlier, but yeah. But you hit on a really interesting point with the open world and what Misha said with the story, which made me think. During that time, or well, before GTA 5, really, let's say GTA 5 as a point in open world games.
Mm-hmm.
Before GTA 5, the choice to do open world was a deliberate one. You
Yeah.
decide to put a story in either an open world game or a closed world game, and then you make sure the open world fits the story and the story can go on.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel after GTA 5 and the success of open world, where there is so much to do,
Mm-hmm.
the choice to go open world is more trivial, where you decide
Yeah, it's pretty
to go
much like
open
at
world.
some point you just when your game gets to a certain size, it's pretty much obligatory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can't have, for example, what I talked about, I think last podcast with Red Dead Redemption,
Mm-hmm.
where it bothered me that the different landscapes and clearly the different areas of America they were going for,
Yeah.
that those weren't separate worlds, but you could travel between them in about 5 minutes.
Mhm.
Right.
Where I feel like the choice to go open world there,
Mm-hmm.
although not the best example to prove my case, but they absolutely could have gone for separate worlds there, and I don't think anybody would have minded. Maybe an option to travel between them, but a definite border between those parts of America.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
like-
interested. What do you see as like what defines an open world game? Because if I hear Misha just said that you don't hear a lot of people say that open world games have good stories, but just thinking about games that I've played that are, in my opinion, open world, you have Spider-Man on the PlayStation, which is an amazing story in my opinion. Horizon Zero Dawn. You have The Witcher. You have but what does
No, I mean,
when
I
does
think
it
yes.
count as open world?
I think what I mean is, I think yes, we've sort of started to figure this out. I think as the gaming industry has sort of realized what Lumen just said is that open world doesn't just automatically make something good. You have to sort of like consciously adjust for that. But the reason I thought of it was because Black Flag was from the era when open world games really didn't know how to tell stories in an open world yet, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah.
And I mean, GTA does this pretty well, but even they, like, in my opinion, leave something to be desired.
Yeah, although I have to say the idea of multiple protagonists,
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
fact that the
I
open
think
world
it's perfect for games.
Yeah, it's also open for multiple protagonists. That's really an interesting point, and I think
Mhm.
you shouldn't try to do that with every game.
No.
But it's
Definitely not.
really something to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, agree with.
Like,
I'd like to-
100%. I think we could use more games that have that.
Yeah.
only
like
if
to-
it's done well.
Well, yeah, I
Bring up-
mean, yeah, of course, but
Against what Lumen just said about how they chose open world over having separate worlds. But you can still have
Yeah,
separate
those-
open worlds.
That's like you started talking about that, and I was like, well, he's absolutely right. That's a good point. I think
Because I just looked up at the definition. The definition of open worlds is the same as a sandbox, but I think that sandbox games and open world games have really branched off from each other that they
Yeah.
can't really be
Yeah, strongly.
Well-
seen as the same kind of game anymore.
I think the point that I was trying to make was that sandbox and open world games,
Mhm.
they've grown closer together. Where in, say, Assassin's Creed 3 or Assassin's Creed Black Flag, you know, all those, the world is, you're free to explore the world, but there is a distinct advantage to following the storyline. Like the storyline draws you in and tries to keep you going from story to story,
Mm-hmm.
while you explore the open world a bit, and then after the story or during the story, if you feel like taking a break, you can explore the world. Whereas I feel that nowadays open world games, they try to force, well, they don't force, but they unleash this world on you.
Yeah.
If you get what I mean. Like they just unleash this world of main objectives and side objectives and all those things, where you just get to choose whatever you want, and they want you to
Mhm.
choose whatever you want, but you don't understand the world because 90% of the world building is done in the story.
Exactly. Thank you so much. This was exactly the problem I had with The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. I used to have it on Switch, but
Yeah.
I found myself just roaming around, not knowing what to do, and then just because I have like a powerful gaming PC with a lot of other games, I find myself to be just like
Yeah, you
Like,
just get bored with the open world.
yeah,
That's
like
very interesting. I bought
I just didn't know where to go and what to do, and then just eventually I sold the game and bought Black Flag, and I mean, it's been a hit.
I
mean,
love Zelda exactly because of that. Like, it's in my opinion the best true open world that I've played in the last few years, because it is just like, okay, you want a main objective, your main objective, defeat the end boss. Good luck. And you can actually, the open world is really just explore and make yourself ready for that objective. There is no need for an overarching story because the story is very uncomplex. The story is literally just, hey, big bad guy showed up, fucked up the world, defeat big bad guy.
Yeah.
So
Yes, I get that, but like it's like they don't really give you an intro. They have like this intro of like, oh yeah, just hunt some things and just collect some things. Oh look, I'm not just an old man. Oh, spoilers ahead. I'm not gonna say anything more. Here you go. Have a glider. And then you're just all by yourself, and you're like, okay, I only know a little bit of this, like this great plateau, and then it appears that the map is like 50,000 times as big as that great plateau, and I just found myself to be so overwhelmed that I just didn't know what to do and where to go.
I find this very interesting because the main thing that really, what I really love about Breath of the Wild is that you can have an objective like go to Impa or, you know, free a divine beast, and you're like, okay, I'm going to do that objective, and you walk towards that objective, and then you see something to the left of you and like, oh, that looks really interesting, let's go there. Oh, okay, cool, there's a little puzzle or something. Okay, oh, what the fuck's that? Oh, it's a shrine, cool, let's do the shrine. What's that? Oh, it's just a guy that's being annoying. Okay, sure. Hey, there's a tower there, let's do the tower. Okay, hey, I unlocked this map, what the fuck is that on the map? Let's go there. What the fuck was I doing again? Oh, the fine beast. And then you're like on the other side of the map, further away than when you were actually starting to travel to the point that you wanted to go to. And
Yeah.
I think that's what I really love about the game, is that it really gives you a feeling of actual exploration. Like, not there are no markers on the map except those that you put there yourself. There are, not really those like GPS tracks. Like if you see the mini map where you have to go. So it's really just, explore around, and I love that. It's great. I think it wouldn't work in a game like a more story-based game. If they did the same in like Horizon Zero Dawn, you would hate it because stuff will be very unclear.
Mm-hmm.
But because they made the game to facilitate that exploration, mainly, that is the main point of playing the game, they made sure that everything works if you ignored everything that is main quest stuff. If you ignored everything and just fucked around, that's the prime experience that the game is selling, kind of. So,
That's really cool. The game I was thinking about was Pokemon.
Okay.
Yeah. Going with some big names. For me, I found the experience of the open world, even there, to be a bit much. I've played a lot of Pokemon games, multiple runs, but I always get to this point where I've defeated about 2 or 3 gyms,
Mhm.
and then you're kind of tasked to really prepare for the next gym. Like
Sure.
there's always this one gym that's a real big challenge, you know?
Yeah.
And of course that's gameplay. But for me, I really like the storyline. I like the idea of, the Pokemon trainer I create, then going out and collecting a few Pokemon and being naturally gifted and defeating every gym in a couple of goes, because of course there has to be some challenge. But
Right.
I feel like at some point in Pokemon games you are just kind of let go to defeat the last couple of gyms, and I lose interest. No, but like you get to this point where it's no longer engaging for me, at least, to start trying to catch more Pokemon or do something else, because I'm not a huge Pokemon nerd. I don't know where all the good Pokemon are. I just go into the grass and find another fucking... What's his name?
You just find the Pokemon that looks cool, right? I mean, that was me anyway.
Yeah, no, you
think-
found a Pokemon that looks cool, and you can defeat the first 2 or 3 gyms with it, and then you actually start facing a challenge.
Right. But does that have to do with the open world, though?
I think that's one of the aspects of open world where they let you go free, but they don't
Because
let you go free.
for
if you
most
know what I mean.
Pokemon games, I wouldn't even so much call them open world.
Yeah, it's more like a.
It's on the edge. Because I mean, yes, you are technically free to go wherever you want, and
Yeah.
well, no, not even really.
No,
No.
not even, because stuff is locked off until
Yeah.
you get to certain gyms.
It's
So it's pretty linear, actually.
I would more call it like
It's like a maze, like
Yeah.
a maze that opens up while you play.
Yeah,
But
there's a
agree
name
with
for
that,
this
but
genre, but I just can't get it.
no, but there's
RPG.
It's not a Megalovania,
There's
but
this-
it's like the
Everything
there's
is
this point in
RPG
Pokemon
if you try hard enough.
where you unlock the maze, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah. At which point the maze becomes open world. It's
Yeah.
no longer you have to get a bike to be able to be able to. You have to get a bike to be allowed to drive on the bike road thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then the challenge is go find yourself a bike. Then you go find yourself a bike and you're allowed to drive on the bike road thing. And you get all these challenges until you've defeated most of the challenges, which is around Gym 3, if I remember correctly.
Well, it depends on your Pokemon version, obviously. but-
Depends
yeah.
on the Pokemon usually, but and then you are basically free to go where you want. But there's this actual challenge where they don't explain how to get to the next gym.
Right. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And then you get to
Yeah.
a gym and then they say, hey, you're not ready to defeat me yet, or something like that.
There's always in every Pokemon game. I think I now get what you mean. There's like
Yeah.
this hump where because usually it'll be that the map goes like this. Like there's like a line and then it goes into 2 segments, and then it'll come
Yeah.
back around to the top. And you're supposed to go this way, then backtrack here, get your fly ability here, fly
Yeah.
back here, and continue on.
Yeah.
Usually, like very
Yeah.
vaguely, but in general. And I agree with you that is, for me anyway, the moment you get flight in Pokemon is sort of the moment that the game breaks down. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
you don't want
Yeah.
to again go back and run around and be like, because it takes a surprising amount of time to travel the map in Pokemon. But
Yeah.
then also the whole point of like having it be separate cities instead of just like, with quick travel. I don't know. I get what you're getting at now. And
I really want to see a Pokemon game that is like actually open world, where the difficulty of a gym is based on how many gyms you've already defeated.
Yeah. That would indeed
That would be-
be
because-
perfect.
The types, because the whole idea of the gyms is that they have separate types, but not.
Yeah.
like they in lore wise there isn't a set
Hierarchy.
order really
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the gyms. You just have a water gym and a rock gym, and which one do you want to go first? But in the games there is a set order, so it would be cool to find make a Pokemon game that doesn't have that order. That really is just, hey, if you manage to find this gym first, you defeat it, and the difficulty of the gym is based on how many badges you've already earned.
Yeah.
So that the last gym you fight, no matter which type it is, will be the most difficult gym.
Which would make your experience a lot more similar to the anime? Well, I mean, so I'm not going to get into the discussion of whether it's an anime or just like the cartoon, but like
the show. The show.
Clearly
yeah.
it's a hentai.
The television show.
It's
just saying, miss.
We're not. Let's not get into this.
We just accept it.
Yeah, because that's exactly right. In the television series, he just goes through and he's just gets to a random gym, always barely beats it, and then gets advice like, "Oh, you should go check out this and this gym," which would I think be a lot more compatible with the idea you just said, where you just go to a gym and they sort of go, "Oh, these gyms are close to here, maybe." But like you can just do them whatever.
Like close in.
Or like it can give you advice on the, like, let's say you have a team with this would be a bit more difficult to implement, but not too difficult. Like it would be possible. Check which types are in the team you defeated the gym with. So like let's say you had a fire, water, and 2 bug Pokemons and 2 air Pokemon. Then he is like, oh, don't go to just this gym because you have no types that are effective against this, and you have these types in your team that are, weak against them. So try to avoid that for now. But there's a gym there close by that has weakness to types which 2 of your Pokemon have.
Oh
so
yeah, that would
maybe
be
go
really
there.
cool.
That would be cool because then the tips are actually useful. It learns the player the type advantages, which.
Yeah, Pokemon, I
Outside
think,
of-
does not a great job of doing that.
Well,
Yeah.
like trial and error. You just some are just main logic, like okay, sure, fire beats fucking grass, logical as fuck. But like when you get into the fairy and ghost and steel stuff, you're like,
No, it's like the thing is, all the well, I'm gonna call them Pokemon nerds because I'm a bit of a dick, but everybody that's into Pokemon really knows all this stuff. Whereas for me, whenever I play Pokemon, I have to keep this cheat sheet up with all the
that's
counters.
That's me.
Especially if I play online Pokemon.
Oh yeah,
like you've got this. What is it? This.
I don't like that. I don't like online Pokemon. I don't think it's bad objectively. It's just not for me.
I like it because it gives me a chance to read out, to just basically calculate everything as soon as I start seeing Pokemon, and start swapping Pokemon in order to counter my opponent, which is something I really enjoy. But
At which point it becomes more strategic, right? It's more like a chess match, I guess.
Yeah, but it's like,
I think Pokemon has just never been that for me. It's just always been sort of this like, I
think
just
that
want to do
online
Hyper Beam
Pokemon-
over and over again because it's the coolest move, That's why I play Pokemon, and that's why I think online Pokemon doesn't resonate with me.
Leech Seed, it's
Yeah.
just gives him
I just want to do it. Like it's just so satisfying. And I think that's what it hurts me. It's like the game is designed to make those things satisfying, and then it kind of when you're playing online, it punishes you for doing the most satisfying thing, which just creates
I think
this
the
dissonance.
online Pokemon games are more focused, I think, like Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh, because it's the same idea. You make your own deck, which is your Pokemon team, try to optimize it as much as you can to, herd out all the weaknesses and see how they fare against other people. Improvise on the fly and see how do I beat this deck or the team. So I think it's more online Pokemon. You need to look at it more like a TCG than an actual Pokemon game, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, I can see that.
But if you take that idea of online Pokemon where you've got people that are good, and you've got me, and if you take the idea of online Pokemon and what Misha said, like it's a more tactical game like chess, it's like the Pokemon games are geared towards grandmasters in chess.
Mm-hmm.
Like people who already know all the counts and who already know that whenever I play Pokemon, whenever I play this type of game, there will be this speed bump where usually I have to go get flying on the other side of the map.
Mhm.
All those steps, which make sense for the Pokemon nerds, yeah, I'm gonna do that. But to new players, it's not quite as friendly, and then you present yourself as this open world game, having a linear story, but that's fine because you challenge players to unlock the open world. I feel like I mean, I'm not saying Pokemon is a bad game.
No, I definitely do
Yeah.
not think it's bad. I love Pokemon. Holy shit! And
I'm
I
just
keep coming
saying-
back to it every year or so. I do it.
Yeah.
I play it fairly serious for like 2 weeks straight, and then I just
Yeah.
and
Meanwhile,
I'm done
he's-
with it for the year. But I like it.
Until
until we go in-
just
oh,
sitting
sorry.
here with like 0 hours of Pokemon games.
Oh, sorry.
Literally,
Sorry.
I've watched like 2 episodes and then thought like, yeah, okay, fine concept or so, but like Phineas and Ferb's Bay. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
Phineas and Ferb is good.
I found
Yeah.
my old Nintendo and I discovered that I did have a Pokemon game on there, but I've just never opened
Ooh.
it.
Okay, so I want to
I'll get into this.
bring up a game that I really love, which, in my opinion, fixed a lot of what I didn't like about Pokemon. I didn't like, one of the things is that it doesn't teach you anything about the types, really. So it's like, trial and error, try out what works against Steel and just, use what works from your own experience, which
Mhm.
is cool in a certain way, but it's nice to kind of get to learn the ropes.
Yeah.
And
sure.
also, this is more a personal gripe, but I don't like grinding. I know some people find it very satisfying. I can't grind. I can grind for like 10 minutes, and then I'm like,
I think.
I'm
not
100%
making
here.
progress
I'm
with Francis.
100% there with you.
And- I love Temtem. Temtem is the most like if you see it on the surface, it looks exactly like all those crappy Minecraft clones that you can look at them and you instantly know how they work. They're Minecraft but crappier, and they're just like
I've
so
never.
search up Temtem. Temtem is pretty recent, but it's pretty much
There's also
it's a-
Zero Temtem.
Oh yeah, I get what you mean. It looks like what I would imagine a Pokemon clone to be.
yeah. And it is definitely a Pokemon clone, as in the sense that if you think of Pokemon as the creator of these like owning monsters and teaching them new moves and stuff, it's definitely a Pokemon clone. But it's so much better, in my opinion, than most Pokemon games.
It's with ease. I searched it with Ace, and then just a whole load of African drums came up.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
So-
continue.
What I really like about Temtem is that the battles, I have played to a big part of the game, and I haven't I've grinded once, in like my multiple hours in the game. I'm probably I would say I'm about halfway through the game. I have only grinded once, and that was because I was just a newbie at the game and I didn't really understand how it works.
Mhm.
What I really like about the game is that you don't have to grind because the strategy is really, really involved. You don't have your moves in the sense that you can use Hyper Beam 16 times and then you can't use it. You have a set amount of stamina. Each
Mhm.
move requires stamina, and each turn you get a few points of stamina back.
Oh, right.
So you can use a
okay.
big move
Yeah.
and you use a lot of stamina, but then okay, the next 3 moves I have to use lower
stamina
stamina
attack. Yeah,
moves
yeah.
because otherwise I'll run out of stamina, and if you run out of stamina you're pretty much stunned, can't do shit for a turn. In Pokemon you can just will Hyper Beam because you have like, I don't know, 8 to 10 uses, and usually that's enough to kill someone, so you just spam Hyper Beam. If you do that here after 2 rounds, if you spam your ultimate move kind of thing, you run out of stamina, you get stunned for a turn. Then next turn you don't have enough stamina, fuck, I have to try something else. So it
Mhm.
kind of forces you to use your different moves and really mix stuff up. Including that the type advantages are way more important in the game. Like it has way more effects than in Pokemon. So having a type advantage is really important. Knowing what your moves do and what your types do are important as fuck. And every battle is a duo battle. So always 2 Pokemon out or 2 Temtems out on the field fighting. Never one. Unless you don't have any Temtem.
That's really cool. Because actually the dual battles is what I really liked about Pokemon.
So that gives you a good way of like combining. Okay, so I know this guy is this weakness, so let's put out this other guy with him to cover for that, and it just it has so much like depth and the fighting is so well balanced that even if you're very underleveled, if you just know what you're doing and really focus and try to work the system very much, you can win any battle just by using smart, which is I love that. Because that really shows the heart, the soul of a trainer, like if you can fight your way out of any battle. The shit that he does in the show, you're completely underleveled and you just barely win because of your smarts. That's the feeling that I want to have when playing these kind of games, because that's the feeling that I sell.
Yeah.
And Temtem actually lets me feel that through gameplay instead of just text boxes, which is
that's
amazing.
really cool.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
It sounds really. I was like, this is the best sales pitch I've heard for a Pokemon-like game in a while. So I was really curious, but it's currently $30.
Yeah, it's a bit.
Which feels a bit steep to me.
It's very steep. I bought it just because I really like Pokemon games, and from what I saw of it, like I said, it fixed every problem I have with Pokemon. So I was like, sure, I got it on sale for like $20.
Yeah, it sounds like a game I'd buy on sale and then be surprised at how fun it is, and then So I'll keep an eye on that.
And then play it for a whole 5 hours. Yeah, no, but I really get why you like that, and I was also intrigued, but like Misha said, it's too expensive.
Yeah, it is.
It's a little steep for like. It might just be a Pokemon game to me, because it's really amazing to hear what you have to say, but I'm not sure if I'm on the level to be able to appreciate that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like
if I knew I were, I'd easily drop $30 on that.
Bro.
Yeah, but I'm honestly not sure if I'm on that level, if I'm this familiar with the genre, to be able to enjoy the nuances of that.
Yeah, like that's the thing with Pokemon for me. My girlfriend and most of her friends are really into Pokemon.
Yeah.
So,
of course you're a simp.
They talk about Pokemon, and I'm just like, yep, sure, that's cool, and then they drop 2 names and they say, wow, that was really cool what we did there, and I was like,
I mean,
sure.
If they drop Pikachu and Charizard, I mean, I can follow the conversation.
I mean, Charizard's my boy, But, no, but like that's the thing, and I think that's really interesting for a really interesting concept, because if a game genre or a series has a dedicated group of followers, do you cater towards those followers, or do you pull an Assassin's Creed and change up the control scheme?
I mean, I would say change up, or not change up, exactly the opposite. Like, make sure the game is what your group of followers would expect, but try to put it in a setting that more people would appreciate, so that you can expand this group of followers.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not entirely sure if I agree with that.
Oh. Go on.
Okay, so first of all, when you make something that is fun and successful and a lot of people like it, you've obviously done something right, and there's a good chance that you'll have enjoyed making that, right?
Yeah.
So let me start out by saying, obviously, when you do that and you do make a sequel or extra stuff or whatever, obviously focus on the things that made it fun and that made people enjoy it. Obviously, I'm not saying, hey, when people like it, change it, right? That's weird.
Yeah.
But I think there's a certain, like, something needs to stay fresh.
Yeah,
and
that's very true.
People will, I think, burn out. I think when you don't add new content and you just have, like, this static thing that's really great, and you even add improvements on it, that's completely fine. Like, there's still many dedicated fan bases to, like, old games, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you keep making new things that are essentially the same, you
Yeah.
risk burning people out. And it's why I like, for example, I really like how League does champion reworks.
Mhm.
Where
It's just-
Oh boy.
okay,
Yeah, sure, no,
some
go
of them,
on, go
some
on.
of them, by far
Yeah.
not all of them, but some of them really like they take a look and they look what is the core of this champion, what makes it fun to play, and in other words, what makes the current people playing it want to play it, and then they basically, when they do it right, they basically redesign an entirely new champion around that same core idea,
Hmm.
Yeah.
and I think that's really cool because it makes the port from like having played that champion really easy, but it also makes it new and interesting and fresh for other players that aren't as used to it.
Yeah, this is a really
what?
interesting point where
Yeah, but-
it's you say this core aspect, which I absolutely agree with what you're saying. But when you said League reworks, I had some traumatic flashbacks
I mean, okay, some of them.
because I loved old Aatrox. He was
Oh
this
no.
he was this champion who just auto attacked and didn't die. Yeah,
Right. Yeah, sure.
That sounds pretty cool.
and then he died. It's
Oh,
it's this, and then you have to try to keep up your meters and all that stuff. But basically, he auto attacks and doesn't die.
Yeah, Aatrox
And
was like a resource management game inside of League of Legends, and if you did it well, then you wouldn't die. Yeah.
Yeah, but like
Yeah.
Riot saw that and was like, well, that's kind of anti-fun. That's not really fun and engaging gameplay. So we should hold up one sec, guys.
Okay. Well, that happened.
no, we just okay. Wait,
So-
Misha, you just realized like the thing I said like 2 minutes before or something. The thing like what did I say, like you need to keep your audience but also appeal to a new audience.
Mm-hmm.
I was totally supporting Disney live action remakes with that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh,
I take everything back right now.
everything back. Oh my god, I still get
Make-
nightmares.
Which is why I think that, like,
Have the same principle. Make a new story, make new graphics, make new everything. Only the principle remains. Okay?
I think
Okay, that's it. No Disney live action remakes. Okay, Artur, go ahead.
I think that Misha, your point was very like it's a good point that you made with like look at how they did the League Champions remake, but there's a big difference between remaking a champion
mhm,
and making a sequel to a game.
right.
Sure,
Like-
but I think
You can say that like let's say you have a very popular game that's stable, and you know that like one update you can ruin one champion, and that might throw off a part of your fan base because they really like the old champion, but the rest will be pretty much unharmed. That's easier to really change than saying, okay, here we have millions of dollars that we're gonna put into this project, and we know that the sequel works. We know that they expect something like the sequel. Let's change it up. That requires more trust than the other.
I am inclined to agree with you, but the reason I chose League of Legends for this is because League of Legends has so many players that it has. I think most of its champions have more mains than a lot of games have players at all.
Yeah.
And also, picking a different champion will completely overhaul your experience of the game, I think. Especially if you're like... Okay,
yeah,
picking,
sure.
if you're maining, which I think...
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw some statistics that like a lot of people play pretty much like 70% one champion. And if you change your main, especially between roles, which sometimes an overhaul of an old champion will do, that will pretty drastically change your experience.
Yeah.
Now, it won't be as much as like a new game, but I would argue it's in line with a sequel.
Yes.
You're right.
But yeah,
Like,
the
even
analogy
if you-
doesn't work 100%, I agree.
Even
with you.
if you say that League has so many players that one champion has the same amount of players as another game can get, you still have to look at it relatively, because if you have to see the whole picture, like
Mhm.
let's say percentages, if you have 3 billion and 300,000 people change, that's an amount of percentages. If you have 10 players and like one player changes, that's also just an amount of percentage that
sure.
you risk for that. So
Yeah, okay.
you'll have to look more at that than the actual numbers, I think. Because,
Okay. I think, yeah, you might be right on that. I might be jumping to conclusions too quickly.
I think that companies get a lot of bad rep, just generally. Even I, to go back on what Daan said, fuck the Disney remakes. Totally.
Fuck them.
That's a step too far. But companies get a bad rep of not innovating too much, but I don't think people really understand how much risk something can really like if you talk like a very big company like Sony is more than just the game part of Sony, of course.
Yeah.
So if they have a misstep with their games, like it will suck.
Yeah, like people will
okay.
lose their jobs over that, like a lot of them.
Yeah, but like if you look at even not a small company, but like medium to big sized game studios that only do games, so nothing on the side, just a game studio. If they fuck up a sequel, if something really doesn't work out, they'll lose. They probably have like 1 or 2 games running at the same time because they're only focusing on games. They probably have different divisions, but making games costs a lot. It takes a long time, so they probably have 2 games out at the same time. So if one of them tanks, that's like, if they're both big series, that's like half of their revenue gone. They might damage the trust of their fan base that won't return.
Yeah,
people will, as you said, people will lose their jobs because of this. The company might tank totally and lose, so much money that they really can't recuperate for the next year, and thus have to make a smaller game, which means less revenue, which means they all have to scale down a whole lot.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of risk in really changing up a formula that works. Which, by the way, I am fully for changing up formulas to make something better. I think that there is a point where something becomes stale and you really do need to reinvent your formula. But there is a very high risk in doing that. So I understand why, like for a sequel, so like a second part or third part, you won't do that. But if I look at like, now I haven't played that much of Call of Duty, but there are a lot of Call of Duties out there. If they stayed exactly the same or like mostly the same, I understand that still was fuck because it's like 15 games that are exactly the same.
Fair enough.
No, but that's a really interesting point you bring up there with Call of Duty. They were indeed in first-person shooters. You've always had this divide between Battlefield and Call of Duty.
Yeah,
you've got
pretty
the
much.
tactical Battlefield, and
I would argue nowadays you have Battlefield, Call of Duty, and Overwatch, but yeah.
No, but
Fortnite
like
even.
Overwatch is more of
fair
a
enough.
competitive game. For the casual first-person shooters, it used to be Battlefield and Call of Duty, and those two were really competing with each other, which was weird because they hit 2 different points of the market. You had the run around and shoot people in the face and knife people whenever you want, and you had the try to play it calm, try and think about tactics on how to kill people, and only knife from behind because otherwise you can get punished. Battlefield, which is so you have these 2 stable companies which both hit different points of the market. Yeah. Say Call of Duty Black Ops 2 and Battlefield 4.
Sure.
That point. And then over the last couple of years, you've seen them try and move a bit towards each other with Battlefield Hardline and Call of Duty Ghosts.
I don't think Ghosts is moving more towards. Well, I mean a little bit. I think it might have been their idea, but I don't think they accomplished that with Ghosts.
Yeah, no, they didn't accomplish it, but they
wasn't great.
Ghosts was not. It was not my favorite.
Around
Call
that time,
of Duty.
they both tried to move towards each other.
Battery critical.
Favorite Call of Duty.
Like I would expect that their marketing teams thought, well, you've got this first-person shooter market, and we have to cut out. We have to try to eat a bit of the other side, and then Battlefield tried to eat a bit of Call of Duty, and Call of Duty tried to eat a bit of Battlefield.
Yeah.
Where what really happened was they both made shitty games. And that's indeed the point where they broke from their core values slightly. And what Artur says, there's this really big risk involved in that.
Yeah.
So you saw them trying it a bit more until it completely failed. And now you see Call of Duty accepting the fact that they're just a casual for fun run around and shoot people in the face game.
Yeah.
Where they add jetpacks and sliding and all that stuff. And you see the Battlefield, you see them move towards the more historical aspects and the more serious shooter side, which is with Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 1. You see them move to historical.
I think that's them
places.
reinventing their identity.
And
But that's something I didn't think about. That if you stick to a formula so long without reinventing, that you're kind of stuck with the formula, because the fan base you've created after like 6 games of the same shit is people that really want that. So you really can't change it anymore.
Yeah.
That's what you're stuck with.
You built yourself a niche.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel they both did a really great job of, after the failure of trying to expand their niche, try to merge their niches a bit. They both reinvented themselves, trying to look at what makes us a successful branch, a successful series. And then they explored that concept, saw what sticks, and then they worked on that.
Yeah.
Which is
I like that. But I think that's essentially what I was trying to get at, but I didn't have it as clearly. Which obviously isn't as simple as just saying, "Oh, do that," and then
Yeah.
But I think this is sort of what I was trying to get at. That there's like, you have to look at the essential parts and like try to work with that. And I think your example is a very great example of that, because they started out not looking at what their core identity was and trying to play around with that, but they just tried to I think they tried to change their core identity.
Yeah.
Which
that's indeed. The series is built on your core identity, is the point we're getting at.
Yeah.
Which actually is
like
a bit
that.
of a insight for us, I think, because we haven't really looked at we have made, of course, design documents and stuff for our games that we worked on, but I don't remember us really we have some core aspects that we really need in the game and the feeling that we want to bring across, but not really a core the game that really is the game. So
it's funny.
A core gameplay loop.
As you say that, I can't but hear IOTCE from The Escapist screaming, "Focus on the primary game loop." He has a game design series, which I'll plug in the description. It's pretty great. And he is like a firm believer that you have to focus on that primary game loop and the rest will just come from that. And I think that's sort of related to this, and we can learn a lot from that, I think, as a company. Or, a design team.
An entertainment studio.
Yeah, sure.
And as an entertainment.
Hopefully a company somewhere in the... Hopefully not the distant future.
Somewhere in the next Corona years.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this would be a good point to talk about what we're doing, what's going on, about our new game channel, and all that stuff. So I think Artur should take it from here. And
should I take it from here? Okay, so we're definitely working. I am hype about this. We're working on a lot right now.
Yeah.
We are working on our next game, which is our first game, the university. So it's not a project for the university. It's our own passion project called High Rites of Sacrifice, which is like a roguelite platformer, vertical platformer, which will be great. We just about finished our the game engine. We built the game engine that will to do all the nitty-gritty stuff of making all the separate items and stuff at other levels. So exciting times. You'll probably see a devlog sooner or later.
Because we're now getting to the point where we can more easily add content. So I think we'll indeed be posting more updates in the near future. Because
which will be great.
at least I am very hyped about this.
I am also very hyped about this. I can finally post shit on, like screenshots and stuff, which will be great.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
just
very
hype.
great.
Yeah,
Hype.
Very hype.
it is.
On what
Absolutely.
channel are you uploading your video?
I am, which is the next point, uploading
Hey.
on our It's Okay to Game channel, our new gaming channel.
Nice
Yeah.
segue.
Very, very epic. So we finally have a gaming channel. I've uploaded my Darkest Dungeon gameplay there, which you can look now. 3 episodes are already online, and the 4th one will be coming today. Or well, the day of recording, not the day of uploading. And Daan and Lumen is also gonna record gameplay there. Misha, we don't know yet. Probably. I hope so, because he's cool.
Yeah, I want to focus on the game design ideas series that we want to do on the main channel.
So that
and
will
on the
be his
podcast.
focus. Yeah, so I gave over my editing powers to Misha, so he'll be handling.
And I thank
the
you for
podcast
your
from now
faith in
on,
me.
and I'll have more time to focus on the gameplay stuff. So yeah, we have a gaming channel now. We're working on a new project. All kinds of hype going around in the entertainment team.
Yeah. So
Now we also have Daan, who will say something really epic.
everyone who is watching this has seen Avengers Endgame. Like the
Probably.
conclusion after like 10 years of Marvel
Yeah,
film
that was
history.
fucking great.
It was a great movie. I mean, Infinity War was better, but Endgame was a bloody great new movie.
Not sure if
Endgame
I
was the
agree, but
set-
carry on.
Infinity War better story. Endgame was satisfying as fuck.
Yeah, Endgame was satisfying as hell. But you know, like, I mean, everybody knows the movie where like Cap stands alone against the entire army of Thanos, and suddenly like Sam is going like on your left, and like the entire Marvel
The
cinematic
portal scene. The
comes
portal
through
scene.
the portal scenes. Oh, it's so good. I have been working on little something, and that is I think a lot of you may not know. I play the cello at a fairly high level, and I have been working on transcribing the music from the portal scene for not 1, not 2, but 12 cellos. I will record them. It's not completely finished yet. It will take a couple of weeks before this is actually released. I've not even transcribed all the music yet. I'm still working on a few chords that are just hurting my ears at the moment. I will record them, including video. I will make like this. I mean, it's not a cappella because it's not my voice, but like an a cappella with cellos kind of idea. With the scene, so I'll put the scene in the middle and like 12 versions of me playing it on the cello around it. So you have like the live music with the scene, and it's sounding kind of awesome. And I'm actually really, really hyped. And yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
It's really
very-
cool. You let us let us
Big
hear a
smooth
preview just
groove
now,
vibes.
and we are very, very hyped about this.
I am very hyped for this.
Yeah.
You should play your cello on the podcast once. I would
Yeah.
love to hear it.
I
Let the
mean-
world hear.
My room is tiny and my camera is kind of duct taped to my monitor at the moment.
We'll make it work.
We'll make
well,
it
It'll
work
be fine.
some
sometime.
way. Like
Someday.
I bought my webcam secondhand and it didn't come with like the stand. So my webcam kind of sucks at the
Yeah.
moment.
They're using tape.
literally-
I'll put up a picture of how the webcam was held in place.
Yeah, it's not like that right now, but until it let go and now it's on top of my monitor again.
I think we
We're
should
almost
definitely plug Arthur's Instagram.
My Instagram?
Yeah,
Arthur,
your
Instagram?
new Instagram.
Oh, my new Instagram. I was confused there for a
Hold up,
second.
is
So
there
yeah,
a new Instagram?
I have a new Instagram. I have an Instagram which I haven't posted on for so fucking long. Holy shit! I used to upload daily, which I
Yeah,
was
it
very
was really
proud of.
cool.
And then I didn't because fuck, Corona fucks with the schedule. Like every schedule I build, I hold on for a week and then everything dies.
Basically, Corona
So-
sucks it into its hungry maw.
Yep, I need to get into it again. But Naked Nexus, I love making weird, trippy, funny artwork, which is great. I love to just fuck around with that and see how I can extrapolate my feelings or a certain aspect of life into a very weird or funny picture. So if you want to follow Naked Nexus, you can see what I have created there on Instagram.
With that, I think it is time for our closing top 3. I
So-
have an idea, which I got inspired for by our conversation just now.
Sure, go
Well,
ahead.
definitely do it then.
So this is difficult for me, but I think I'll have to go with, on number 1, it'll be Guardians of the Galaxy. On number 2, the first Avengers. Or not like Captain America the first, but like the first Avengers movie.
Yeah.
The Avengers. Yeah. And then Thor Ragnarok third, probably.
Ooh.
I
Ooh.
would go for Batman: The Dark Knight. Then Avengers: Infinity War. And lastly, I'd say Iron Man, the first movie. The original Iron Man movie from 2008.
I watched that yesterday. That's actually a really it's a really good movie.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that. I should have probably included that in my top 10.
It doesn't have
Iron
the
Man
Marvel
1 is really
spirit
good.
yet because it's the first Marvel movie, but it's
Yeah.
a good movie.
It's good. It's a good movie.
Good.
Okay, once Arthur is done swigging his wine, I think he should go.
Oh, should I go?
Yeah.
Okay. So first place, Guardians 2. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. It's difficult. Ant-Man. I fucking love Ant-Man. And I love Ant-Man. I fucking love him. I know it's not the objectively, I understand why it will not be the best Marvel movie, but it's my top 3 all the way.
Okay,
Super.
gotta watch
Like
tomorrow.
always. So
Okay.
Guardians 2, Ant-Man, Infinity War.
Okay. Fair enough. I can get that.
Okay. I guess for me it would be Ant-Man.
Ant-Man on 1?
Ant-Man on 1.
Okay.
Understandable. Thank you, sir.
Why is this one not in the list? And what was it called again? Oh, well, it is in the list.
Shit.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
Oh,
Doctor Strange was
fuck,
good.
Yeah, I forgot about Doctor Strange.
I just think that Doctor Strange doesn't have the rewatch value, which is why it's not that
I
high
mean,
for me.
I've watched it 5
Good-
times.
good
now, so-
point.
I love the visuals. I love the start. I don't like what's he called? The guy with the so not Dormammu, but like the Kylium or something.
Yeah,
What's he called?
Cassidius.
Cassadius, that guy.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
for the soundtrack, for me, the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Alright. These have been
Blue
our
Sky all the way
favorite MCU movies. We've been
Yeah,
the It's Okay to
yeah.
Cry entertainment team.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.